Okay, so then this is the review for finals. And I'm going to give you the answers to the review. Hopefully for numbers 1 through 38. But let's go by pages, okay? So on the first page, the answer to number 1 is B. Any questions on number 1, B, and B? Did you get that, B?
Yeah, I just forgot. I don't know how. I forgot
You
the
don't know?
process to get to B.
Okay, so it's B because, see, if, over here, if you have x minus 3 as an exponent, you do the opposite of that. Whatever's with the x, you do the opposite. So it's minus 3. With the x, you move left or right. So if it's minus 3, you're going to move to the right. So it's moved right 3 units. And then you have a minus 5. That minus 5 tells you to move the function down. Okay, if it was to be positive, then it would be moving up. So it's minus 5, so it moves down 5 units. So that would be B. For problem number 2, the answer to number 2 is A. Questions about A being the answer? Did you graph that function? No? All you got to do here is graph the function is 1/2. If it's positive, the function is increasing. Okay? But if it's a 1/2, if it's positive on the 1/2, it would be decreasing. Okay, so then the function, if the function is f of x equals just 1/2 to the x power, then that graph would be a function that is decreasing like that. Okay, so when you have a negative, that means that is reflected over which axis? Negative on the x means what? Over the y. So you reflect it over the y-axis, so the graph will look like this. And as you read the function, okay. Okay, that's a good long one. Okay, so as you read the function, it says there's an exponential growth, and it's a growth because it's increasing. Okay, as you move to the negative infinitive, see, negative infinitive is coming this way, like that. What happens? Well, the function is going to approach the 0, which is the x-axis. So that graph, if it moves this way, is going to be approaching y is equal to 0. As a function moves to the positive infinitive, which means it goes to the right, the function is going to keep on increasing. So therefore, f of x goes to infinitive at x approaches to positive infinitive because the function goes up. So this is it, like that. Okay. Any questions about number 2? So far so good. Okay, so now let's move on to number 3. The answer to number 3, it's A. Did you get A? X is equal to 3? Yes. Do you know how to get x is equal to 3? Yes. What is 81 with the base 3? Let me just work it out, so just in case some of the students don't know how to do that. What is 81 as base 3? 3 to the 4th. So here we're going to have 3 raised to the 10 minus 2x. And then the 81, we just rewrite it in exponential form, is 3 to the 4th. And then once you have the same bases, 3 and 3, we just let the exponents be equal to each other. So you're going to have 10 minus 2x, and that is equal to 4. Then we just subtract 10 to both sides. And that would be negative 2x equals what? Negative 6. And then when you divide by negative 2, that's how you get x is equal to 3. Okay. Problem number 4. The answer to number 4 is, what's the answer? D. 13 years. Bless you. 14.72 when you worked it out. Okay, so the formula for the function that you're using. What are you using here? Which formula?
Equals P, parentheses, 1 plus R, close, and then to the T power.
That is correct, yes. Okay, so let's see what happened here. Okay, so for number 4, let me just make some space. Okay. So the formula for number 4 is supposed to be the amount. Oh, this is a better. Okay, the amount is A equals principal times 1 plus the rate raised to the time. So then the amount equals the principal. How much is the principal? It started with 73 million. Okay, so 73. And then it's 1 plus the rate. You change it to decimal. And when you change it to decimal, it's 0.017. So I'm going to run a space. 0.017 raised to the t. How many years? Okay, they're giving me the 91 million. So instead of the a, yes, I can put there what we want, which is 91 million. Okay, so then we're looking for the t. First thing you do here, you divide by 73. Now, I'm not going to change that into decimal. I'm just going to leave it like that, okay? So it's going to be 1.017 raised to the t equals 291 divided by 73. Then since I want to bring the t to the front, what I do, I get the log. Yeah, so let me bring that down. You get the log of both sides. And what you're going to have t log of 1.017 equals, and then the log of 91 over 73. Okay? And then from here, we just divide both sides by the log of 1.017. And at that point, it's just a matter of putting that into the calculator. So when you put it into the calculator, when you round it off, that is 13.07. Okay, and that is letter D. Yes, okay. Number 5. Problem number 5 is A. 84. Did you get 84? All you need to do here is just put 56 in place of the T, put it into the calculator, and that should give you 84. Yes, okay. Now for number, so this is A. For number 6, problem number 6, the answer is B. Questions on B and B? No? So here, all you have to look at is, what is that?
It's not on the iPad screen. It's not
Maybe we can't see.
Oh, no wonder. Okay. Okay, so then in number 6, it says translate 10 units to the left, and it's 10 units to the left because of the plus 10, x plus 10. And then B says reflected across the x-axis. Why is that reflected across the x-axis? Because of the negative. If the negative is in front of the function, then it's over the x-axis. If the negative was to be with the x, inside with the x, then that's over the y-axis. Okay, so that's over the x-axis, letter B. Okay, so problem number 7. In number 7, the answer is C. And it's C because when you have exponents, those come to the front. When you have a product, that becomes a sum. So that is a sum. So that 6 goes to the front, so it's 6 log base 5, and that's the base 5, you just recopy that, of x. So, the 5 goes to the front, and that would be 5 log base 5 of y. And how come is a minus here for C? Why is that supposed to be a minus? Because it's divided. Every time you divide it, that means minus, and then log base 5 of 7. So it is letter C. For problem number 8, the answer is, what's the answer for number 8?
D.
D. That is right, -2. And that's because, how do you rewrite it when you rewrite that function? 6 to the what power? That is right. So this is log base 6. This is just like 1/6 squared, right? But when you bring it to the top, that is just log base 6 of 6 to the -2. And when you want to find what all of that is equals to, well, that's basically just the exponent. So the exponent is just -2. Just -2. Okay, find the following using the calculator. So using the calculator number 9, what did you get for number 9? D is right. Any questions on how to get D on the calculator? No? Okay. Let's go to the next page. On page 2, problem number 10. The answer, what's the answer here? B. That is right. So it is B. That's the answer. Questions about number 10 being B? Yes? Okay, let me go over number 10. So in number 10, you first rewrite it. See here, this is a logarithmic form. You have to rewrite it as an exponential form. So when you rewrite it, that's going to be 4 equals, or 4 to the what power? 4 to the 1/2. So it's whatever the base is raised to the exponent. So it's 4 to the 1/2. That is equals to x. So that's the exponential form. And 4 to the 1/2 is just a b. That's it. Number 11, the answer for 11 is what? C is right. X is equal to 4. How do you rewrite the 81 with base 3?
Right.
3 to the power 4. That is right. So the left side is 3 to the 12 minus 2x. And the right side is going to be 3 to the power 4. So once you have the bases the same, then the exponents are the same. So it's going to be 12 minus 2x equals 4. And then when you solve for x, negative 2x equals what?
Negative 6.
Negative 8,
Yeah.
right? And then when you divide by negative 2, that gives you the 4. So it's just equal to 4. Problem number 12, and this is one of the formulas that you need to know. The answer to number 12 is D. And do you have the formula for that equation? That is right, yes. So let me just write it down. So if you need to copy this on the formula chart, make sure you add that. So it is A equals principal times 1 plus the rate over K, and then on the exponent is going to be K times T. And we need to know what each one of those, here they're telling you that K is 4. The rate, what would be the rate? 0.09. And here they give you the principal. So when you put all of that into the formula, you have the principal, you have the rate, you have the K, and T is what you're looking for. No, T is given is 7. So just put everything into the formula, and that would give you the D. How about if it's compounded continuously? What's the formula for compounded continuously? A equals P Hurt. Yes. The shampoo that you use to shower continuously, that's the formula that you use here. Yes. So, PERT. So, the answer for number 13, what was the answer? Letter C is right. Yes. okay, come on. Okay. Let me just bring my other. So is C. What is that? Any questions about 13? I think that one is pretty easy, right? Because you just put it into the formula. Number 14. What's the answer for number 14? C is right. Yes. And this one is just a matter of putting that into the calculator, right? And here, how are you going to put that into the calculator? You're going to put 54 plus 42 over 60 minutes. 16 over how many seconds? 3,600. So just put that into the calculator and that should give you the C, 54.70. And then number 15, convert negative 90 in radians. How do you convert negative 90 in radians? You multiply it. I always remember that if it's degrees, degrees has to be in the bottom. Okay, so then degrees goes in the bottom, so 180 goes in the bottom. And you have the pi on top. And then after that, you just reduce it. By 90 is 1, by 90 is 2. Therefore, that is negative pi over 2, which is A. Number 16. What's the answer for 16? C is right, 36 degrees. And how would you convert from radians to degrees? 180 over pi is what you use, that's right. So it's pi over 5. And here you want to have the pi in the bottom. And so the 180 goes on top. And when you reduce, you just cancel out the pi's. And when you reduce it by 5, is 1 by 5 is what? 36? So it's 36 degrees. And that's how it's C. Number 17 requires a formula. So there's actually two formulas, one with radians and one with degrees. So here's another formula, Nathan, that you need to copy in the formula chart. So that would be what? Arc length equals what? Radius times what? Theta. And this is where theta is in what? It's in radians. When it's like that, it's because it's in radians. Is this in radians? Yes, it is. So we just plug in the numbers. It's going to be S equals, the radius is 11, and then the radians is 16. Just multiply those two numbers, and the answer would be 176, and the unit of measure, which is inches. And that would be C. Okay. I think this is fairly easy, right? Now that you went through so many problems that are very complicated, it's like these are baby problems now for you. I know that's what the case is. Number 18, the answer for number 18 is B. Yes. And for this, they just want you to get the sine and the cosine. It says find the exact values of the indicated trigonometric functions. So all you have to do here, I don't know if I can erase this. No. Okay. Okay, so all you need to do is label the triangle based on the angle given, which is A. So the angle is here. You label the triangle. That's the opposite. And then the next to the angle is the adjacent, and the 55 is the hypotenuse. And then you just use SOHCAHTOA. So sine is opposite, and the opposite side okay, I'm just gonna get another. Oh, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use one of these here. Having fun, I guess. Okay, so A. So sine of A is 44 over the hypotenuse, which is 55. Yes. Okay. So 44 out of 55 reduce it by 11 is 4/5. Now cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, right? Yes. Okay. So it's 33 over 55, reduce it by 11 is 3/5, and that's why it's B. Yes. My goodness, having fun over here. Number 19. What's the answer for number 19? Number 19 is A. That is right. So it is A. Question on that being A. So easy, right? Because secant is just the reciprocal of cosine. So that is just 3/2, yes. And number 20 is secant of 45. What do we need for that? What do we need? It's a triangle. And number 20, the answer for number 20 was what? It's B. That is right. So you need to draw the triangle. So the 45, 45, 90 triangle. What numbers do you use on your triangle? Square root of 2? So square root of 2, square root of 2, and what do you use for the hypotenuse? Is 2. You could also have used just 1, 1, right? 1, 1 is square root of 2, whichever. They want secant, and secant is just a reciprocal of what? Of cosine. So we need to get a cosine. So cosine of 45, and cosine is just the adjacent. So whichever triangle you use is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Okay, so adjacent, if I use the square root of 2, is going to be square root of 2 over 2. And let's see, this is the secant. Okay, if I use the other one, the other triangle, that would be 1 over square root of 2, right? Either one that you use, when you get the reciprocal, it's better to use the second one, right? Because you just get the reciprocal of that, and the answer would be square root of 2. If you use the first one, you're going to have 2 divided by square root of 2, and then you have to rationalize, and at the end it would be square root of 2. So it's easy to use the second one in this one. Okay, so that was number 20. Next page. Okay, this is just use a calculator. Well, very easy, right? So what did you get when you use the calculator for number 21? B is right. This is the answer. It's B. Number 22. Cosine of pi over 9. Using the calculator again. What was the answer? A. That is right. And then it says solve for x. What do you do in number 23 to solve for x? You what? Multiply, but don't you have to use a theorem? Which theorem are you using here?
I did sine of 53 equals x over 10.
Okay, the theorem is sine, that's sine, cosine, tangent, trig functions. So it's sine, okay, so it's sine of 53? Really? But isn't it across from the angle is opposite, and right next to is the adjacent? So is it sine? Okay, so it's tangent, right? Okay, so it's tangent. Okay, so tangent of 53 you said equals to what? X over 10. And then just make it a proportion. When you make it a proportion, you put it over 1, you cross multiply. X equals 10 tangent of 53. And then you just put that into the calculator. Make sure that the calculator is in degree mode. So degree mode is tangent of 53, 10 tangent of 53. And the answer to this problem should be what? B is right. That is right, it's B. B is the answer. Number 24. From a distance of 43 feet from the base of a building, do you draw a picture for that problem? 24? Yes, you need to draw a picture for something like that. So for number 24, the answer is, what is that? It's supposed to be D. Yes, supposed to be D. Okay, let's see. Why is that supposed to be D? Let's work it out. It says, okay, let me draw a picture. Let me pick this up a little more. It's supposed to be B. Let's see. Let me draw my building. You draw your own building. This is my building. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not so glad that I don't do any artwork, right? Because otherwise I will not leave from that. So anyways, the angle of elevation to the top of the building, okay, so let me draw. Angle of elevation to the top of the building is 63. So that angle is 63. That's the angle of elevation. Estimate the height of the building to the nearest, which degree? Nearest foot? Okay. So, and it says 43 feet from the building. So this is 43 feet. So what I need to know is the height. So which is the property that you use here? Tangent. That is right, because it's opposite, it's adjacent. So the equation should be tangent of 63 equals opposite, which is x, over 43. Again, cross multiply. So x is 43 tangent of 63. Then you just put that into the calculator, and that should give you 84.
So, angle of elevation is at the bottom,
Yes, it elevates.
and then you put on the top where it's like the same.
If you put it on top, like for example over here, this is an angle of depression. Yes. Okay, so when you put that into the calculator, 43 tangent of 63, and then just make sure that you are in degree mode. See, mine is in radians. When you put it into degree, that should give you the 84. Okay? And now what about for number 25? What's the answer for 25? C is right. The whole word came with it. Okay. So evaluate without using a calculator. Okay. So without using a calculator. How many degrees is 5 pi over 3? And that's what Maritza was asking me yesterday. Is how many degrees? 360 is pi over 3, right? So it's 5 times 60, that is 300. Now, on the final exam, I'm not going to check for the work, but when I get this review and you turn it into me, you got to make sure you show the work so that I can give you that 1 point if you're missing 1 point on the final average, okay? So, sine of 300. When you sketched the angle, 300 is on the 4th quadrant. So, you're just missing 60 degrees. See, with the stylus, it's hard to draw those angles. And being a perfectionist doesn't help. Okay. So that angle is 60 degrees. And the bottom one is 30 degrees. So the radius is 1. What's the short leg? The short leg is
Oh, we're using
1 half. You use 1? Okay, let's use 1. So if the short leg is 1, then the long leg is going to be square root of 3. That is right. So they want sine, right? And sine is the opposite. What's the hypotenuse in that case? That would be 2. So when you get sine, sine is opposite, and this is hypotenuse. You know, something that you have to be careful is that the square root of 3 needs to be negative because it goes down. So when you get sine, the answer is going to be negative square root of 3 divided by 2. And that is B. Now number 27, what did you get for 27? D is the right answer, yes. And here you have 2 conditions. So you need to sketch the grid, and then they want tangent to be positive. When you put cast, if it's tangent being positive, which quadrants are the ones that have tangent positive? 1 and 3, where you have the A and the T. So let me eliminate the other 2 then. And then the second condition says you want sine positive, which is the square root of 3 over 2. So sine is positive. It's got to be in the first quadrant, right? And then sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. So the opposite is the square root of 3. The hypotenuse is 2. So which is that angle that forms those two measurements? The 60, right? So it could be 60 degrees. It could be 60 degrees, or in radians, that would be the same thing as what? Pi over 3. And that's why it's D.
I use the circle.
The unit circle?
The sign is in white.
Sine is the y. That is right. Yes. Okay, that's a good point. Very good. On problem number 28, it says, what is the amplitude? What is the amplitude in a sinusoid? Is the number in front of the sign, right? That is the amplitude. So it's just 5. So it's A. And for number 29, the period. What would be the period? What's the formula for the period? Is absolute value of B. 2 pi over the absolute value of B. And what is the B on the sinusoidal equation here? 8. The number right next to the x, that's the B. So when you put it into the formula, that's going to be 2 pi divided by absolute value of 8, which is just pi over 4. And pi over 4, it's D. So 29 is D. What about for number 30, the phase shift? What is that supposed to be? The what? How many units was shifted to the left or to the right? That is right. And you find that when you have the inside of the parentheses. So for number 30, what was the answer? B, negative pi over 9. And all you need to do here is let 3x plus pi over 3 equals to 0. Then you bring the negative pi over 3 to the right. So that's going to be 3x equals negative pi over 3. And then just multiply by 1/3. And when you multiply by 1/3, that gives you the negative pi over the 9, which is B. Okay, number 31. What's the answer for 31? It is B, yes. So it's a horizontal shrink by a factor of 1/8. Where's that shrinking coming from? From the 8, that is right. Whatever that number is in front of the x, you get the reciprocal of that. And then if the number is a fraction, then it's a shrinking. If that number was to be a fraction, like 1/2, and then you get the reciprocal, that is a 2, then it's going to be a stretch. Okay? And the vertical stretch comes from the number in front, the absolute value of the negative 3. So it's positive 3. How about the reflection across the x-axis? Where is that coming from? From the negative. That's right. So that negative in front of the 3 gives you a reflection across the x-axis. Okay, questions up to page 3. Do it 4 and last page. Okay, so on page 4, number 32, it says find the exact value of arc sine of square root of 3 over 2. So how do I get the angle in which sine is the square root of 3 over 2? What angle would that be, or is the square root of 3 over 2? 60? This is 60, right? Pi over 3, which is 60. So sine opposite is the square root of 3. Hypotenuse is 2. So that angle must be 60, which is pi over 3. So that was A. That's the sine inverse, that's what it's asking. When you have, yeah, the sine inverse is asking you for which angle. So which angle produces sine to be square root of 3 over 2? And the angle is 60 or pi over 3. That's all it is.
I did that,
Uh-huh.
but then I didn't put the reflection because it's inverse thing. So I got C.
No, sine to or cosine or tangent to the inverse to the negative 1 means what's the angle that produces that function to be that ratio. So it's just pi over 3. Okay. For number 33, 5 tangent. Okay. See this one, you should not miss this one, okay? Because you're able to use a calculator. Okay. So what's the answer to this one? 33 was supposed to be what? A. And if you remember the sine, cosine, and tangent, that's the one that looks like tangent. What about C? What would that be? Could that be cotangent? But you have to shift it, right? Because cotangent starts, the asymptotes are 0 and pi. So this is more like, C is more like negative tangent. Reflected over, okay? Number 34. What was 2 cosine of x? And D is right. That is D. Number 35. Phi secant of x. Phi secant of x is C. The answer is D. Yes. Why is it D? Phi secant. Well, isn't it cosine, the one that starts at 1? So since it's 5, then it's going to be going up. And then it goes down. And then it goes up. So I'm just drawing the cosine. You know how cosine is supposed to go like that? So secant is just from the highest and the lowest points going up and going down. So the red graph that I have, that is cosine. But the one that is on D is secant, phi secant. So it is D, yes. And number 36, it says find cosine when sine is negative 12 over 13. Okay, well, first of all, I need to draw my quadrant in which tangent is positive. So tangent is positive on the first and on the third quadrant. And then they want sine to be negative. So where is sine negative? On the first or the third one? On the third one. So then you need to draw the triangle. Sine is negative 12 over 13. This is negative 12. This is 13. And they want you to find cosine. So I'm missing the adjacent side. How do I find the adjacent side? A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. And that's just a triplet, right? A squared equals 169 minus 144. And A squared is what? When you subtract those two? 25. So therefore, A must be positive or negative 5. So in this case, it's negative 5 because it's to the left. So when they ask me for cosine, well, cosine is just from the angle adjacent over hypotenuse. There you go. Negative 5 over 13. Letter C. Did you get that? I forget about that. So it's C. How about number 37 when you simplify all of that? What did you get? Letter what? B. The answer is C. Okay, let's work it out. Let's see. Let's see what happened there. So you have cosecant theta times cotangent. Cotangent.
That's what I meant actually. I did the work there.
The wrong one? Okay. Over secant. Okay. So let's rewrite it. What did you put for cosecant? 1 over sine. And for cotangent? Cosine over sine is right. So cosine over sine. And on the bottom, secant is just 1 over cosine. So at the top, when you simplify that, let me go ahead and bring it down a little more, like that. Okay, so then you're going to have cosine over sine square theta, right? And then times the reciprocal of the fraction on the bottom, so you switch it around, and that's going to be cosine over 1. And cosine times cosine produces cosine squared theta over the sine squared theta. That gives you the cotangent squared theta, which is C. And what about for number 38? Letter A is right. go. So there it was kind of easy, right, for this one, because it's just cotangent of x is the same thing as 1 over cotangent. And they just cancel each other. So that is equal to 1. So it was A. Okay, so we're going to stop here, and we'll go ahead and continue with the second part tomorrow. Please have numbers 39 through 60 completed. Yes, please. Okay.